Hey everybody, this is Frilioth and welcome to another Minecraft tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to put a fully working Minecraft villager breeder inside this fantastic love shack that's been designed and created by Avomance. So if you've made your way here by clicking on the link on Avomances channel, then thank you very much for doing that. If you haven't and you'd like to know how to build this beautiful building, then I'll put a link to Avomances channel in the description, and I'll also put a link in the top right hand corner of the screen now. So make your way over there to Avomances channel to have a look at how to build it. But don't forget to come back afterwards so I can show you how to put a villager breeder inside it. So my brief to Avo was make something that looks fantastic but is also big enough for me to be able to put a fully working villager breeder inside it. And boy, he's not disappointed, has he? He is a phenomenal builder. Beautiful. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to put an 8-pod villager breeder inside this fantastic building. So let's have a wander over and see what I've come up with. So here it is, the 8-pod love shack. If we start at the front, we have a switch to turn the villager breeder on and off. Because we've got 8 breeding pairs in there, we probably need the ability to turn it off. Otherwise you're going to have babies everywhere. This is the collection area. All the villagers that are born, or the baby villagers that are born out of these 8 breeding pairs of villagers are going to fall down into the collection area. They're going to be transported via the water into the far right hand corner, where they're going to be collected via the minecart system, and from there you can distribute them out to your trading halls or villager breeders or wherever else you want them to go. The dispenser down there is fed from this chest here. If the chest is empty and you run out of minecarts, then just fill the chest back up again. Then press that button and that's going to dispense another minecart in order for you to start collecting your villagers again. Now if we go around the back, this is how we get inside the villager breeding, inside the love shack, in order to feed the villagers. So we go up here, up this little ladder here, click on the button, and in we go. And this is the area where all the magic happens, really. This is where we feed all of the villagers, and this is where we know whether or not the villager breeder is turned on or off. At the moment it's off because that villager in the centre is down. When his head is touching the ceiling there, then the villager breeder is on. You'll see the sticky pistons extended when the breeder is on. But from here you can feed them. And we've got panes of glass there in order for you to not fall in on top. It won't hurt you if you do, because there's a block of glass in there, but you really don't want to be falling in there if you can help it. Now I've used different coloured glass in order for you to be able to see it on the tutorial. If I was building this in my world, I'd be building this out of light grey stained glass, which is almost invisible, so you wouldn't be able to see it. And I've been told off in the past for making tutorials where you can't see the glass. So I've used red blocks of glass for the floor. I've used clear blocks of glass for the surround for the villager in the centre, and I've used red panes just here that stop you from falling in to the breeding pairs. But as I say, you can use any colour you want. I've just used this colour in order for you to be able to see them. So that's where the magic happens. That's where you feed them. If we go around to the front, I believe this is the front. This is the front. Go around to the front. Go up to the attic. This is where we've got a bit of a storage area, and we've also got a nano farm, which is it's a necessity really. You can't, because you've got 8 breeding pairs of villagers down there, you're going to need a lot of carrots, and I mean a lot of carrots. So has this got? Yeah, it's full of bone meal. So if I grab myself a stack of carrots, actually I'll grab one to start with. Put myself in survival. Okay, turn it on. And now I can stand here for a few minutes, and as long as you've got bone meal in there, look, I'm already up to a stack of carrots. And you can do this without having to mess about farming it yourself or running about or buying carrots or potatoes. It works equally as well with potatoes and wheat, and beetroot, for any crop for that matter. But really, you want to be using the same crop to feed the villagers all the time in order for you not to contaminate the inventory that they've got. So there you go. Already we've got 4 stacks of carrots. And then all you have to do then is pop yourself down and throw these guys your carrots. How easy is that? Going to save you no end of time. So let's whip outside again and we'll turn this on. So now it's on, you can see all these love hearts. Now this, when it's running at full capacity, it will produce a baby about once a minute. There you go, one already down there, he's disappeared. So it'll make a baby once every 8 minutes. See, one breeding pair of villagers will make a baby roughly once every 5 to 8 minutes. And there are 8 of them, so you're looking at about once every minute or so, as long as they're fed. Now, each breeding pair needs a couple of stacks of carrots or potatoes to start with before they'll even think about getting in the mood to breed. And then after that, you're probably looking at 2.5 babies per stack of carrots or potatoes. It works out, I believe, that if you give them 2 stacks of carrots, they will have about 5 babies. It's not an exact science, or I've not been able to make it an exact science, but as a rough guide, give them 2 stacks of carrots or 2 stacks of potatoes, and you should get 5 or 6 babies out of each pair. As you can see, where the piston is up, the breeder is on. So without further ado, let's start building this bad boy. So I'll put a list of everything you need to build this on screen now. Pause the video if you need to. And now we'll get on with building it. Okay, we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. So grab your block of choice. This is going to be the block that your breeding pairs are going to stand on. And then you want to put a temporary block just there. And then you need to build a big square inside the love shack. Like that. And then you need to pop out the blocks that are in the corners. And then you need to leave a block and then pop out the middle one. So now you're left with that. They're going to be the blocks that the villagers stand on, the villaging breeding pairs stand on. So now you want to get up above them and you want to put another temporary block on top of those blocks there. This is where the water's going to go. But before we can put the water in, we need to put something in to stop the water from flowing out all over the place. So stick your temporary blocks in, and then you want to put some panes of glass. Again, I'm using red because you can see it. You can use any colour panes you like. And you need to put panes on the inside of those. You need to join them together with panes. And you need to put panes on the outside. There, and there. And then you want to put panes between the block and the wall. Okay, like that. Now, in order to stop these little fellows flying out and landing outside the fence that we're going to put down the bottom, we need to stick in a couple more panes of glass. So we need to put in a pane there, there and there, 3 down each side, and 1 there, there and there, 1 there, 1 in the middle and 1 on the right. Whiz round for the last time, 1 there, 1 there and 1 there. Now that way, when the baby villagers do get shot out, they'll hit the pane of glass and fall straight down, and they won't go outside and land on the fence. Now we can take out these temporary blocks. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now take out your bucket of water, or your buckets of water, and you want to put a bucket of water on top of every one of those blocks where the villagers are going to be standing. And obviously the panes of glass are going to stop the water from flowing out everywhere. So now you should have something that looks a little bit like that. Now you need to determine which side you want the front to be. So we'll call it this side because it overlooks the water, and the chimney's on this side as well. So we'll call this the front. And you want to get yourself a lever and put it directly underneath the glass part of the heart, like that. That's going to be the switch that turns the breeder on and off. Now you want to get yourself inside, and you want to find the same block on the inside, and you want to put a torch on it. So we've got the lever just through there, you can see it. We've got a torch just here. Now take out your solid glass blocks again. We need to put glass blocks. We need to make a floor. We need to put a floor above the water, but we can't put glass blocks above the water. So we need to pretty much fill the entire floor with glass blocks, with the exception of where the water is. Okay, so now you've got a complete floor of glass with the exception of where the torch is. You can't put one there. Where the water is, and you need to be careful now not to fall in there. If you fall in here, you won't be able to get out without breaking the panes, without breaking the blocks. So be careful now not to fall in. And the centre block has got to be left open because you need to stick a solid block in there. We're going to use the nether wart block, but you can use any block you like. You could use white if you wanted to. Doesn't make any difference. That's where your piston is going to go for the switch. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now we need to put down a second floor on top of the one we've just put down. So grab yourself some solid blocks. I'm using the nether wart block, and you want to put a cross in the middle. Like that, and like that. This is just for symmetry, because on the front where the switch is, there's a switch. This is where the power is going to come in to power the piston in the centre. So now you've put the solid block down, you need to put some dust on top of that solid block, those solid blocks there. As I say, that's now going to power the piston in the middle. You don't have to put solid blocks around the rest of it. As I say, I'm just doing it for symmetry. And then you want to put some more solid glass blocks on top of all of these ones that you've put down. Again, leaving the gap above the water open, because that's where we're going to be shoving villagers in just a second. Okay, so now you've got something that looks like that. Now we're going to stick in the centre pod where the control villager goes. So you need to grab yourself a sticky piston and put it facing upwards directly in the centre. And it might be a good idea now also to turn the breeder off. So if you just flick the switch on the outside, I'm being lazy. You're probably going to have to go outside to do it, but you need to turn it off. Now, on top of that, you need to put a solid block. I'm going to be using a piece of glowstone because you can never have too much light when villagers are concerned. Obviously, if it's dark and mobs spawn in here, you don't want a zombie spawning in here, a baby zombie or a normal zombie. Otherwise, your villagers are toast. So you need to light this place up like a Christmas tree. So stick your solid block in the middle. That's where your control villager is going to be standing, on top of that block there. Now grab yourself some glass blocks again. I'm going to be using yellow for this, just so we can see it. You want to put a temporary block there, and then you want to put 3 glass blocks on top of each other. So we've got 1, 2, 3, like that. And then you want to make a big cylinder in the center where the villager is going to stand. And we'll stick him in later. Break that block, and now you've got something that looks like that. Now, before we get around to throwing villagers in these pods, we just want to grab our glass again, and we want to just fill underneath this column that we've just put in. We want to fill that in with glass where we can. We can't put some there, any glass there because of the redstone, but we can put the glass in everywhere else. Now you need to grab yourself 8 breeding pairs of villagers. So we need to find 16 villagers somewhere. Now, I'm not going to show you how to get them up here in this tutorial. There are plenty of ways you can do it. You can push them up some steps. You can stick them in a water elevator. Loads and loads of ways you can be able to get them up here. But you need to get them up here somehow. I'm going to use a spawn egg because it's easy. So once you've got your villager up here, you just need to push him into one of the holes. Into that little pod there. And you need to be careful, as I say, do not fall in. If you fall in with them, you are toast. Now, hopefully, when you push them in, they will go in opposite corners. That's ideal. That's just what we need. Then grab yourself a bit of glass, and you need to put it above their heads, like that. That bit of glass is going to be forced down over their heads. Okay? Then you want to grab another villager, stick him in the next hole. Stick a friend in with him, like that. Bit of glass above his head. And you need to do this for all 8 of the pods. Okay, so once you've got them all in, that's what they should look like. Now we need to force those blocks, those glass blocks, down 2 blocks over the heads of the villagers. And to do that, we're going to need some regular pistons, some non-sticky pistons, regular pistons. You need to put a piston there with a temporary block on top of it, like that. You need to power that block, put another temporary block above it, power the piston again, get rid of the temporary blocks, and there you go. Your villagers are now safely trapped inside some glass. Now, what that does is, well, A, it stops you from falling in. B, it stops the food that you throw in there going straight through and falling out the bottom, so these guys can pick it up. And lastly, it stops these guys from throwing food to the babies when they're born. So any babies that are born are going to pop straight out and fall down. Any food they throw will land on top of that glass block, so it stops the babies from being fed, which is essential if you're going to be putting these babies into a villager trading hall or somewhere where they're next to each other. If baby villagers that have been fed stand next to each other, they're going to breed and you're going to have little villagers running about everywhere. This stops that from happening. So once again, grab yourself a regular piston, put it above the glass block, put a temporary block between the piston and the glass, power the piston, put another temporary block in there, power the piston again, take out the temporary blocks, and there you go, you've got your villagers trapped in the glass. And you need to do that for all of the villagers. Okay, now if you've got 2 pistons, you can do it twice as quickly. You can just stick one there, and put a temporary blocks on that one and that one. Power both at the same time. 2 more temporary bits of block. Power the pistons, get rid of those, get rid of those, get rid of those, and there you go. Your villagers are all nice and safe. One last time. Now we need to grab the panes of glass again, and we need to stick some panes of glass above the holes, just to stop you from falling in. And what it also does, if, heaven forbid, you get a zombie spawn up here, it's going to stop zombies from getting in there as well. So now we've got that. Now it's time to stick on the ceiling. So grab yourself your block of choice again. We're using quartz for the ceiling, and just cover the entire top, right at the top of the where the quartz finishes, at the very top, with quartz all the way around. And you want to leave the centre open just for the time being, because we're going to throw a villager down there. Now, get the guy up here the same way they got the other ones up here. And you just got to bring him up a little bit further, that's all. So once he's up here, say hi, say bye. And there you go. Then you can completely cover that over. Now you want to go to the front. Where's the front? This is the front, isn't it? And you want to pop out that block there. That's going to be where our trapdoor is, that allows us to get up to the top. So grab yourself some ladders. Stick some ladders in there, so now you've got a way up. Well, I think now's as good a time as any to build the nano farm. So grab yourself a slab. And stick a slab on that block there, 1 block in from where your trapdoor is going to go. Actually, let's put a slab in. Let's put a trapdoor in there anyway, just so we don't fall down it. Okay, so you've got your slab. You want to grab some solid blocks, and you want to put 3 solid blocks there, there, and there, and then 1 there and 1 there. So you've got that. You want to get yourself some dirt. Put it on that block there. Now get yourself a lever, and you want to put a lever on that block, just there. And behind that, you want to put a piece of dust. Coming out of that dust, you want a comparator, and you want to put it in subtract mode. And then you want to put another solid block just there, and 2 pieces of dust next to it there and there. So now every time you flick the switch, you're going to get a comparator clock, a pulse on there. Like that. Now sticking with your solid blocks, you need to put a solid block, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. Now we're going to make an area for the water to go into. So you've got that, that, and that. You need to put another block on there. So now you can stick some water inside there. Okay, and if you've got your hoe, you may as well hoe your dirt while you're at it. Now, sticking with your solid blocks, you need to put a solid block just there and just there and just there. You need to put another solid block right next to the water, just there. And then you need to run some dust into that block like that. Okay, now that block is going to power these two dispensers. You'll have a dispenser there and a dispenser above the water, and that block there will power both of those. Okay, then you need to just get yourself out, put another solid block in there, and put a bit of redstone dust on top of that block there, and that one just there, like that. Okay, so now when you turn it on, all of that flashes. Perfect. Now take out your solid block again, or keep out your solid block. You need to put a solid block just there, like that. Okay, and then you need to stick a dispenser on top of that block. You need to put a dispenser there facing inwards and a dispenser just there facing inwards. And then when you turn it on, all three dispensers will fire at the same time. Brilliant. Now you need to take out your slabs again. And you need to put some slabs above the top of all of those dispensers, and one above the farmland. And then you want to just get down off the slab, and you need to put two slabs there and there. Okay, you need to make that completely dark inside, and you do that by having a slab over the front. The nano foam works by having that block of farmland below light level of 7. So every time you plant a crop in there, it's going to pop out. But because the dispensers fire enough bone meal out to grow it to start with, before it has time to pop out, it grows to full height, which is how this farm works. But it won't work unless that particular block there has a light level of 7 or below. And you do that by sticking a slab just there. So you fold that block into thinking there is no light getting to it. Now that is your farm done. So now you need to fill up your dispensers with bone meal. So grab as much bone meal as you can get your dirty little hands on, and completely fill all of the dispensers. Like that. And then when you turn it on, they'll all be dispensing bone meal. Don't worry, they're not wasting bone meal while it's on. They'll only dispense bone meal when there's a crop there to grow. So if we'll give it a try, let's clear my inventory and grab some carrots. I like carrots. You can use potatoes. I'm using carrots. Grab some carrots. Turn the farm on. Stand on the slab and then just plant them. Just right click on that particular bit of farmland. See if we can do it in survival. And there you go, before you know it, you've got loads of carrots or potatoes. Okay, next we want to start prettying this place up a little bit. So grab yourself some glowstone. We need to add a bit of lighting to start with. So throw a bit of glowstone underneath each corner, like that. And then you want to come through the gap, the doors, look straight up, and you need to put a bit of glowstone there. And there. And there. And there. And that does two things. That brightens up this particular veranda type section here, otherwise it's too dark and mobs spawn on it. Okay, and also it adds enough light on the roof for the mobs not to spawn on the roof. If we F3, you can see the lighting for the block. If you look top left hand corner, light for the block is 9, doesn't get below 9. And as we all know, mobs need a light level of 7 or below to spawn on. Now grab yourself some trapdoors and just stick yourself down some trapdoors over the top of that, just to make them look nice. Now you want to take out some doors. I'm using spruce doors for this, but you can use any wooden door. If you've got a nice texture pack and there's a particular door you like the look of, you can use that one, but they have to be wooden doors, otherwise the breeder won't work. And you want to stand on the inside and you want to put 3 doors along each gap. Okay? Now if you want the doors to hinge on the outside, just look at the left hand side of the block. Look at the side of the block that you want the door to hinge on. Okay, if you look at the left hand side there, it hinges on that side. Okay, so if you don't want it to hinge on that side, you need to look at the other side of the block. Now grab yourself some solid blocks again. We're just going to tidy this up a little bit. So if we fill this completely with solid blocks, like that, and then do the same around this side, fill any space with a solid block. It's just going to make it look that much nicer when you come up here. Now take out your wooden blocks and then you just need to fill in where the doors are. Now you can decorate this up a little bit more if you wanted to. If you want to stick pictures up here or stick plants in the corners, you could do that. Entirely up to you. All I'm going to do is grab a couple of chests and stick a couple of chests up here. Then you can fill those with bone meal and carrots and whatever. So that's the attic sorted out. Okay, before we carry on, I just want to double check that we've got a piece of redstone in where it should be. I've put it in myself, but I don't know whether I put it in on camera, so I don't know whether you guys have actually seen it. So we want to whiz round to the back part of the farm again. Just here. And it's this piece of redstone here. Okay, I don't remember seeing it on the video, but it definitely needs to be there, otherwise the farm won't work. And if you can see, let's open this door. If you can see through there, that's where the comparator is. So it's the block that's off the back of the comparator needs a piece of redstone dust on it. If you don't have a piece of redstone dust on there, it won't work. And while we're in here, we may as well lob down a torch, because this place is dark enough for mobs to spawn in. So that's that sorted out. Okay, we're back down on the breeding floor again, and we're just going to stick in a bit of lighting on this level as well, just to stop mobs from spawning. So we need to go to each one of the corners and stick a piece of glowstone up there like that, and then we're just going to cover them with trapdoors, just to keep in the theme outside. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but I like the look of it, so I am. If you want to use sea lanterns up there, feel free. If you just want to stick a few torches in here, that's fine. But you definitely need a little bit of lighting just to be sure. There should be enough with the block in the middle, but you can never have too much lighting, so we'll do that. Then you want to get to the front of the farm. Again, this is the front where the ladder is. You want to go to the back left or right hand side of the building. Now this depends on where you want to put the entrance, where you want to get into this particular section of your farm. I'm going to put it on the right, but you can stick it over there if you want to. So you want to come over to the back of the farm, knock out that glass block that's there, and then pop out those 2 quartz blocks, which brings you outside, obviously, of the farm. Then take out an iron door. This needs to be an iron door, otherwise it's going to mess with the breeder. So you can't use a wooden door here. It has to be an iron door. And you want to crouch and get to the edge of this particular block. And then you want to place down an iron door. And then stick a button next to it, just there. And then you can open the door, go back in again. Stick another button there, and now you've got a way in and out. Then you want to get yourself some ladders. You just want to stick a few ladders leading up to that door. Okay, you can stand on the top of the ladders, so don't worry about that. You climb to the top, stand on the top of the ladders, open the door, in you go. Perfect. And if you use a wooden button as well, it gives you a slightly longer pulse to get through the doors. If I use a stone button, I can't make it through a door. It's ridiculous. Then pop down to the bottom, and you want to stick a set of stone brick stairs just there. So now that gives you a way to get into the farm, into the villager breeder. Brilliant. So on this 8-pod version of the Love Shack, we're going to have to remove the bottom section, this bottom wooden part, in order to make the collection area. So firstly, we just need to pop this out. Sorry, Avo. We're just going to have to take out all of this wood, and then we need to dig down. We need to dig a hole directly underneath this. That is 7 blocks deep. So now you should have a big hole that is 7 blocks deep by 9 by 9. So once you've done that, you need to skin the inside of it. You need to put a decorative skin on the inside of the hole. We're going to be using white concrete because of the rest of the build, but you can use whatever you like. Entirely up to you. So once you've completely skinned it, that's what it looks like. Now we've done that, we need to decide where we want the baby villagers to leave from. Which corner we want the baby villagers to leave the collection area from. This is the front of my farm, so the front of my breeder. So I want my baby villagers to leave via the back right hand side of the breeder. I want them to leave via that corner there. So in order to do that, I need to raise this side up a little bit and then put some water on it. Because if we put water on there at the moment, it'll only flow to here. So we need to raise that end of the farm so that the water flows and then falls off a block here and then carries on to this corner. So grab yourself your solid block, and you need to put solid blocks all the way along to the end. Solid blocks all the way along to there, and then you need to join it up in like a diagonal. Okay, so you've got that. So this is where the water source block's going to be. This is the corner I want the babies to leave from. So once you've done that, you can then put a water source block in this corner, and all the water will flow and force the babies, or the adults if you leave them long enough, into this corner here. Now find the exact centre of the farm. We want it to be just... is that it? That's it there. There. Pop out that block and just replace it with a bit of glowstone or sea lanterns, because that way then you can see what's going on down there. It's a little bit lighter. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now if you want to decorate this up a little bit, feel free to do so. If you want to stick a bit of colour in there, then it's your build. You can do whatever you like with it. I'm just going to keep in with the theme by putting a few nether wart blocks in here, just to give it a bit of colour. And then to stop yourself and, more importantly, mobs, zombies, falling down there and eating your villagers, you need to put a fence around the entire perimeter of the hole. And now that way, little baby zombies or any other zombies can't get in there and eat your babies as they stand in the corner waiting to be taken away. So now you've got that. Okay, now it's time to stick in the rail cart system. That is going to take your little baby villagers away from here to wherever it is you want them to go to. So you want to go around to the side that we've identified as being the area where we want the baby villagers to leave from. We want them to leave from this corner, so we need to come to this corner here. And we need to dig down here 6 blocks. So we'll dig out a trench here, because this is where all of the redstone and the rails are going to go. So if we dig out a bit of room, make a bit of wriggle room in here, we need to dig down 6 blocks. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just dig out a bit of space, just so you've got a bit of working room. We can always fill it back in later. And we also need to knock out 3 blocks of that white concrete, because the powered rail needs to start there. So if we whip that block out there, you see that's where the water ends. This is the corner where the babies are going to be forced against, and this block here is where the babies are going to be sucked through onto the minecart. So we need to power this block. So to do that, pop it out and place a redstone torch at the bottom and replace a bit of concrete. So now that's a powered block, and you need to put a powered rail there, and then you need to put a normal rail, then block up another normal rail. You need to put a torch here, block there, and then you need to put a powered rail, and then you need to throw down another block, and on top of this one you need to put a detector rail. So you've got a powered rail right in the corner, 2 normal rails, a powered rail, and then a detector rail. So now when you put a minecart on there, it's going to rock backwards and forwards, but not quite make it up to the powered rail. Without anything in it, it doesn't quite have the inertia to get all the way up to that powered rail. The second the baby gets in there, it'll reach the powered rail, which will force it over the top, which will activate the activator rail. So now we need to set up the redstone circuit that's going to dispense a new minecart when the baby villager has been shot off that way down the track. So let's make a little bit more room. A little bit more room like that. We can fill this in now. We don't need to. We don't need anything else, any more space that way. So we'll just fill that in. So grab yourself a redstone torch, and you need to put a redstone torch on that block, the block that's underneath the detector rail. So every time a minecart goes over the detector rail now, that torch will turn off. You need to put a solid block above it, and then you need to put another redstone torch just there. So that block is powered by that redstone torch, which unpowers that torch there. Now grab yourself some more solid blocks. We need to fill that in. We need to put a solid block just there, one there, and then grab some dust, and you need to put a line of dust leading from there all the way down to just there. Okay, so you've got your torch on the side of a block where your detector rail is. You've got a block on top of the torch. You've got a torch coming off the side of that block, and then you've got a line of redstone dust leading down to here. This is where you're going to be putting your dispenser. Now this has to be a dispenser If you use a dropper, it's not going to work, so you need to use a dispenser. Then grab some hoppers, and you need to put a line of hoppers leading all the way up to the top. So let's just dig that out. You need a line of hoppers going all the way up to the top. So you need to crouch. Okay, so all the nozzles now face straight down into the dispenser. So now every time something goes into the chest at the top, every time you put a minecart into the chest at the top, it's going to filter down into the dispenser. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now we need to stick in the manual reset button in order to manually start this. If it runs out of minecarts currently, there's no way to start it up again. So we need to stick in a manual reset line. And to do that, we need to dig out those 2 blocks there. We need to be directly underneath these wooden logs here. Okay, the ones in the corner. We need to be directly underneath that. And we need to stick a sticky piston facing downwards off the bottom of that block there. And then on the sticky piston we need to put a redstone block. Now we're going to get back out again, and we need to stick a button on this log. I'm using a stone button because it's easier to see, but you can use a wooden button, it makes no difference. Now every time we press that button, it's going to power that redstone line and activate that dispenser. Can you hear it? So if for any reason you run out of minecarts, or it doesn't dispense one, every so often a baby villager will go over the detector rail and it won't dispense a minecart. I don't know why, but every so often it does. So if you come back one day and find loads of villagers in there, you've either run out of minecarts or it hasn't dispensed one. Either way, you'll probably want to fill it up and then hit the button and it should start again. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now whiz round to this side where the hopper is, and you need to stick yourself down a chest. And then you need to fill that up with minecarts. And they'll filter down into that dispenser. So now we need to fill this back in again. Now if you want to make this look pretty, then you can do. I mean, if you want to give it a theme, if you want to carry on the theme that's over there, then by all means fill your boots. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to stick a bit of stone in here just so it looks like I've done something. And we want to do the same on this side. Just fill it all in. And then we'll put a bit of grass over the top. Bit of grass there. Now I'm going to stick a bit of glass over the top here so I can see down and see whether or not there's a minecart bouncing up and down. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I just think it's a good idea. So that way you can have a look in and see whether or not there's a minecart in there. At the moment there isn't. So we'll flick the button. And now there is. So now that minecart rail can go off to wherever it is you want it to go to. Now I do suggest that on that particular rail you put a stop valve, for want of a better word. I don't exactly know what they're called, but you need to put in a mechanism to stop minecarts coming back up the rail, back up the track. If you send a villager down that way and he bumps into another villager and comes back again, if he comes back and goes over that detector rail, it's going to force out another minecart, and before you know it, you will have every minecart in your dispenser on this rail. It will be chaos. Okay, so you need to put in some kind of system to stop that from happening. The easiest way to do it, we have a couple of powered rails there, just power them. The easiest way to do it is to drop the track down by 2 blocks. So if you drop down the track by a couple of blocks, that way when the minecart is dispensed, it'll come over the top, it'll go over there, it falls down onto this rail here, and then there's no way that minecart can get back over that detector rail. I can't stress it enough. If you've got a minecart that comes back up this rail and goes over that detector rail while there's one there, it will just dispense every minecart you've got in there and in the chest. You'll have minecarts everywhere. It'll be an absolute nightmare. So just put in that little stop valve there to stop the minecart from going back over the top of it. And that'll save you no end of grief. So now you've got something that looks like that. So that's how you put an 8-pod villager breeder inside the fantastic love shack that was designed and built by Avo. If you haven't been over to check his channel out, please do so. I'll put a link in the description. He's a fantastic builder, and I am thrilled that he agreed to collab with me on this project. I could never have thought up anything like this. It's been an absolute pleasure. So before we go, I suppose the least I can do is turn this on, and hopefully we can see it working. So I fed them all some food using the microfarm, the nano farm that we've got up in the attic. We've got some love hearts. There you go. And almost straight away we've got a little baby. And he's made it down into the corner and been sucked through, sucked through into the minecart. There goes another one. Superb. So if we whip round here now, we should have a couple of little babies. There you go. And because we've installed the stop valve, they're not going backwards across the detector rail and cramming everything up. So let me whiz around here and just turn it off. So thank you for watching, everybody, and thank you very much, Avo, for agreeing to do this collab with me. I really do appreciate it. If you have enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to leave it a like, and if you've really loved it, don't forget to subscribe for future videos. This is Frilioth, and I am out of here.